Hey, everybody. Good morning. It's me, Teri Hunter. Welcome back. Good morning, Kate. Good morning, Juan. How's everybody this week? A lot going on. I feel like I have so much I want to talk about before we start the readings because the planetary activity right now, we've talked about it. It's been off the charts when Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter were all, in Capricorn. But this week is another week that's going to set the tone for the year to come. We have the new moon in Capricorn, okay? And it was interesting because I was thinking about new moons and the idea that there's no light. It's completely dark. And then I kept hearing this song, There's Got to Be a Morning After, from this movie called The Poseidon Adventure from a million years ago. And I feel like that's kind of that the idea that there is no light in the new moon, that there's a sense of the unknown. There's a sense of the full moon and the culmination of something that the full moon represents is like the light is shining on it. You can see clearly. The new moon, there's not clarity. And I'm bringing this up because here we have a new moon in Capricorn. And Capricorn represents structure and authority and repression and oppression and restriction in its most challenging vibration. And this new moon is sitting by Pluto. Where does Pluto rule? It's down in the Pluto's in the dark as well. It's in the unseen. It's in the, I think of the plumbing, I think of caves and caverns. So here we go. We have, and this is all at 23 degrees, which I just love because that squares my sun. And, I'm just in this zone right now with all these planets. So this is where I'm going with this idea. We have this new moon in Capricorn, which is about structure. We can look at the authorities outside and we can see what's happening in the world. But what about the structure of my own mind? Because Mercury is involved, right? Mercury is this week hanging out with Jupiter and Saturn, and it is going to be squaring Uranus in Taurus. So the new moon in Capricorn offering structure, new structure. And what if that new structure is my beliefs, Jupiter, what I think, Mercury, are now liberated and awakened by Uranus. And that's not even the main thing I want to talk about, because a lot of people are talking about the new moon. A lot of people are talking about how challenging the dynamics are between Mars and squaring Jupiter and squaring Saturn. And that's very, very true. But if we look at Mars as the truth seeker, and we look at Jupiter representing judges, judgment, what is actually fair? What do I want for myself? What do I believe? Because now I want to go to the idea, nobody talks about Chiron. Very few people, maybe they do videos, but they don't bring them into the transit play. And Chiron has been transiting Aries, the wounded healer. So it's been doing its fair share of chiming in, let's put it that way. And now we have Venus moving into, or has moved into Capricorn at 5 degrees and is squaring Chiron. And I think that's very interesting because I'm not thinking about money right now. I'm not thinking about my possessions per se, but I am thinking about what do I value? And is that being rewritten? And am I being able to take the idea, even though Venus doesn't love being in Capricorn, maybe at this moment she's thinking, what's really important to me? What is really important in how I've been living? Because if indeed my possessions are important to me, fabulous. If indeed, my money is important to me, fabulous. But where have I in some way, because the square is a heart aspect, where have I been believing something about myself that may no longer be true? So I want to offer this idea with Venus in Capricorn, exactly squaring Aries, and Venus at the same time trining Uranus in Taurus. Venus rules Taurus. So there's very strong potential this week that as individuals, we could rewrite the structures of what we believe about what we deserve and how we measure our value in the world. And that, to me, coincides with the idea of Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius, into the sign of intellect, into the sign of humanity, into the sign of the collective. And then the other thing that I think is super important is Jupiter at 5 degrees Aquarius is sextiling Chiron at 5 degrees Aries. So now we have my beliefs. I think this is the most powerful thing that this new moon has to offer. I think this is the piece that when you add this piece of the puzzle in, it brings it all around. So we have Pluto pulling down the old structures, literally killing what doesn't serve us, using fear as its vessel. And it's our job to determine where fear is real or fear is false evidence appearing real. And then we take the idea of Saturn that offers rewards when we do the hard work of really looking into what we believe. And this is why I say it's hard work, because the initial idea of what we believe is usually what we've been taught or what we think is environmentally acceptable to our friends, to our colleagues, to our family, etc. So when we peel back those layers and we really get down to the nitty-gritty of it, what we believe, what we want may be very different from what those people think or feel or what we perceive they do about our journey. So I want to offer this. This new moon in Capricorn, conjunct Pluto, can give you a rebirth when you're willing to take Mercury's energy, because Mercury is a big deal. And Uranus is going to go direct, I believe, this week. So it's stationary and it's 5 times more powerful when it is in that position. So, and this whole idea of this 5 degrees, 5 is a liberating number to me. 5 is the 5th house, is Leo. So this is about becoming the boss of my own life, becoming the sun in my own life. So a lot of stuff going on. So to recap this particular week, we've got the new moon in Capricorn at 23 degrees, conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, which is, to me, rewriting the structure of what I believe about myself and what I want. And then we have Uranus in Taurus. As it's stationing, it is squaring Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury. In varying degrees, it's squaring Jupiter most succinctly. Then we have, and the shocking news, shocking information is coming, and shocking news. And I think even this whole idea of Twitter exercising sort of Saturnian energies in this communication way is interesting and plays to these transits. So we also have Saturn squaring Mars exactly at 3 degrees. So we know that Mars and Saturn squaring each other is a push-pull between wanting to take action and wanting to sort of sit back and make sure I'm doing it right. And I want to say this too, because I'm Mars ruled, being an Aries rising, and I find myself very much just being in a warrior energy, like seeing I've been very like, if we take the lower energies of Jupiter being the judgy energy, I feel like I've been super fighting a judgy energy. Like there's an old part of me that that's like in grammar school right now. Well, if you don't like me, I'm not going to like you. And then there's the higher part of me that's like, why do I even care? That doesn't mean much to me. That doesn't really bring any value into my life. So here we go. Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron represents, for me, the wound my soul chose to personally address in this lifetime. And for me, it's actually in Aquarius. And when I think about that, it makes a lot of sense in a lot of different ways. So as we review ourselves, where's Capricorn in your chart? Where is Venus squaring Chiron? Where do the Venusian things, your possessions, your beauty, If you're of a certain age and your beauty is not at its prime, maybe you're thinking, oh, I'm aging out and I'm no longer valuable because I'm not taunt, or I've got too many wrinkles on my face. This is an opportunity to change that dynamic dramatically. I believe that as we move forward, all the stages of life will be revered in a very different way. Yes, I still have my Christmas tree up on. Oh my God, I'm so bad. I haven't got my Christmas decorations down yet. But anyway, I digress. Because this is a week, I think, for self-reflection. This is a week to take Mercury, the idea that Mercury is squaring Saturn, and Mercury and Jupiter and Saturn are all squaring Uranus, and think about how you could really liberate the foundation, Taurus, of what you believe about yourself, and in doing so, walk forward. Because what you believe about yourself basically is the foundation of your manifestation. It's why I think the moon is so important. When we do our readings, I think it's the rising sign, the moon, then the sun, then stelliums, and then the sun. And not that to diminish the sun's influence as much as I feel like emotionally we take a certain action. If we're in a bad mood, we're not necessarily manifesting real well. If we're in love and everything seems rosy, our rising sign is going to be, how do we perceive? What is the basis of how we perceive things? If you're Saturnian, it's going to be I got to work my way towards it. I got to work hard. I have to do everything right. If you're like me, Mars, it's going to be jump in and ask questions later. So that's why I go that direction. So this week, as you look at, where is Chiron? Where is this square happening in my natal chart? Or where is this transits happening, and how does it relate to my natal chart? Because when you look at that, if any of those points are actually hitting a natal chart square, it's going to trigger that square. As Uranus creeps up on my moon, my moon's at 9 degrees Taurus, it's going to trigger a trine between Saturn, Venus, and my moon, and then another trine between Saturn, Pluto, and my moon. So there's a lot of stuff that is going on in varying layers. So as we are willing to look into our individual lives, don't look too far outside of yourself, because that'll make you a little kooky, then you can start to implement the change that you want in your own life by vibrating at a place where you're saying, what do I believe about myself, this Venus thing? What do I want for myself? What is really the difference between what truly makes me happy and what I think makes me happy? Because I think sometimes there are two different things. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to say, because I really think that Chiron thing is super important this week. In the next 2 weeks, guys, as we get towards, we know that Uranus is going to square Jupiter on the 17th. We know we have some challenging aspects coming up around the 20th, in addition to our inauguration ceremony here in the United States. So this particular next couple of weeks, this new moon is kind of coming halfway through the month. It's going to set the tone for, I think, much longer than 2 weeks, but we'll go for 2 weeks. So I would ask you all to think about being the light workers you are. Think about being a vibration versus being a human. And what vibration do you want to send? What is the ripple effect you want to send? Because I think that's the new order of business. So here we go. I'm going to jump in and start with Pisces and then work my way towards Aries and see what Spirit has to say to help us traverse these transits. And I want to say, on some level, I think help us to be honest is not a fair word, because I think when we look at things, we do believe we're being honest with ourselves, but we are so immersed in our experiences, our history, our news, our media, that I think sometimes it's truly hard to decipher what is our real truth and what is our truth that we think we want. Because as I've thought about certain things I wanted, like, I'm going to be really stupid right now. I've wanted a Vitamix forever. I have thought about it. I've wanted it. And for a long time, I wanted a Dyson vacuum cleaner. When I finally got the Dyson vacuum cleaner, never got the Vitamix. So I can't speak of that. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be, but it was expensive and it was what everybody thought was so cool. And I thought, why didn't I just go with my old cheap, vacuum cleaner Hoover that I had before that worked great and cost me like, $200 less. And then I started to think about it even more. Well, you know what? When I was vacuuming, I thought, ooh, anyone ever walks in my house and sees I have a Dyson vacuum cleaner, they're going to think I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So do we want these things that have labels? Do we care that much about the watch? If we want the watch, great, have the watch. But why do you want the watch? Why do you want the Dyson? What is it? Because other people might think you're cool or you have money or you're doing well? That's what I think that Venus square Chiron right now. Chiron in Aries, not being a warrior, but being the truth seeker, being more like a spiritual warrior for what is the deepest part of love. So Venus in Virgo, though, what does that mean, Donna? Do you have Venus in Virgo in your natal chart? Is that what you're saying? Because I, too, have Venus in Virgo in my natal chart. I'm talking about the transits. Venus is transiting Capricorn right now, and it's squaring transiting Chiron in Aries. Okay, so as I said before, I'm going to start now with our readings, and I'm going to go from Pisces to Aries. And I want to welcome everybody into the room today. Some of you I've missed and haven't seen in a while. I think, Stephen, I haven't seen you in a while. And Thibaut, I know you were having some challenges with your computer, so it's good to see you back. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Sun, Mercury, Uranus child. Small Wildflowers, good to see you. I don't know why you just got put into a timeout for your Pisces Now comment. That's funny. All right, here we go. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. Z, welcome. All right, we're going to start with our angels and work our way over and up and out and onward and upward. I don't even know what I just said. Okay. All right, Pisces. Our first angel is Vanessa. The second is Teresa. The third is Omega. And the final is Akasha. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter rules faith. And what does Vanessa talk about? Are you going to make your decisions based on faith or fear? What moves me towards my divine life's purpose? And that purpose is not one that was assigned to you. It's one that your soul yearns for. The idea of yearning to travel is a soul's calling. The idea to yearn, to create, to paint, to make videos, any sort of creativity. It's your soul calling to you. So pay attention to that. That's because having faith in what your soul yearns for and then aligning to that will start to kick in the laws of attraction and bring it in. So here, Vanessa is being joined by the Queen. The Queen is about reception. The Queen is the feminine energy of receiving. It's also owning it. Okay, Teresa is being joined by the Raven. Teresa, for me, is an angel of worry, an angel of, she's sort of saying, you know what, it's a timeout. You've been worrying about a lot of things and a lot of people. And, when we look at our news, I don't care where you are in the world, it's frightening. I'm going to say it. So I feel like now it's about Pisces looking for the magic in their lives. That's what the Raven talks about. So here, let me show you. My nails are terrible, everybody. I haven't had a manicure in forever. The Queen is about fertility, and it can be about making babies, but I don't think so right now. I think it's about being fertile as we focus and we really look at what do we believe, and then because I don't want to look at the dark beliefs. I want to look at the light beliefs. I want to look at the, yes, I believe I can create. Yes, I believe I deserve to have the things that make me happy, because that's what Vanessa is asking. Move towards that belief, because this is the age of Aquarius coming into the physical to be actually experienced. So now, while the world is in disarray and it looks like everything is going to hell in a handbag, now is a time, rather than to worry about things, to think and to seek the magic in life, because Omega, the angel of victory, is being joined by the horse. And the horse to me is about moving in a new direction. So Pisces, rising sun, moon, and stelliums. The angels are asking you, and look at, these are two horses. It's funny that the unicorn is heading in one direction, and then the normal horse is going into another. So I feel like this is really about choosing directions, and not necessarily in a way that I have to choose something because it's good for me, but to choose something because I want it. Because in the final position, we have Akasha. And Akasha is the angel of spiritual teachers. You're being, and I want to say this too, because I don't think, lately I've not thought of Akasha as a spiritual teacher, like, oh, here, I'm going to teach you this, as much as we give life to our own desires. We start to examine where our beliefs are holding us back from those desires. And then we start to engage spirit to help us to align to those desires. Then we start this vibration that then sends a ripple effect. This is the protection card. So as you learn, Pisces, how to trust your faith and receive benefit and bounty from your faith, how you learn that worry really doesn't serve you. And sometimes it's not just about magic, but it's about synchronistic events. And those events are sometimes things have to break down in order for things to shift. And the breakdown is not necessarily negative, but it may feel negative at the time. It may feel uncomfortable. So it feels pretty good. Again, this is kind of where I'm going back to the idea. Jupiter is sextiling Chiron. That's a positive aspect. And it's in the 5th degree. So this is a Leo energy to me. So as you, and everybody else for that matter, but as Pisces, rising sun, moon, and stelliums takes the time to really look at, what are my personal desires? What do I want? What is my personal genius? What do I believe about myself? And then I engage spirit to give me experiences to support that belief. And also I want to say this, and then be mindful about too much outside influence. Even to the point where you may get excited about your newfound faith, and you may want to talk to someone about it and be like, I'm so excited, blah, blah, blah. And they just throw a big bucket of water on it. Be mindful of that, because that's not to deter you per se, but maybe even to anchor you into a stronger belief as as that person is used as sort of a contrasting experience to further define the layers. I hope that made sense. Okay, going on to Aquarius. Aquarius, rising sun, moon, and stelliums. Our first angel is Layla. The second is Akasha. The third is Francesca. And the final is Caressa. Layla is being joined by the frog. Akasha is being joined by the bee. Francesca is being joined by the raven. And Caressa is being joined by Merlin. For my Aquarians, Layla says to spend time in nature, meditating and talking to God and the angels, to gain a positive perspective. It's funny, when I look at this, I almost think of the Uranus dynamic and looking at the stars. I almost want to say, look out to the stars. The frog represents, to me, this on the face of the deck, it represents cleaning your house, which is your mind, and releasing emotional baggage. I don't really believe there's a releasing of emotional baggage. I don't really believe in letting go. It's so obscure to me because I'm trying to let go of something that's emotional. So to me, this is where I look to the stars to make sense of things. And when I look to the stars, I feel like I'm actually going to start to get some downloads, literally, like either inspirations through my physical experience, through my dream time, through some sort of what feels like peripheral vision. Okay. So it may be an intuition, but it won't be dead on. It won't be like, oh, I know this is this. It'll be more of there'll be a certain amount of what may be doubt attached to it. But I want to offer this because as you continue to look to the stars, as you continue to say, give me the reason, it's not like, how can I describe it? I think for a long time, I carried this victim energy. I had a, very challenging childhood, blah, blah, blah. And for a long time, I'm like, look at my story. Look at how hard it is. Don't you understand? And then I started to somehow shift past that. And when I started to shift past, don't you understand how hard my story is? It became the tool that allowed me to be a teacher. It allowed me to shift my being energy. And that's what I'm talking about, Aquarius. You're going through a great awakening, as we all are. But your power and your ability to think outside the box, to be, alien in the world, to have those liberating thoughts, it shifts everything. It shifts everything. And it's not about you being a teacher for others. It's about you actually trusting the things that are coming through. This inner knowing that while the world is on some level looking like it's breaking down, you can see it's building up. Because Francesca is saying, what do you desire right now? Visualize that and it will come about. This is in the angel's advice. And then here is the raven. And if you see the raven, it's kind of an ominous picture with this skull here. But at the same time, to me, this is very much about a new moon is never about something completely new, because something new means something old had to die or had to go away or had to be transformed. So now keeping your eye on the prize. And the prize is, what do I want to be? What do I want to feel? Because Aquarius, as we all are, you're going through a very tremendous, huge change right now. And that change is the end of it's a chapter, but I don't want to say it's necessarily in one particular genre. You could look into your natal charts and see how the transits are affecting you. But I want to go back to Venus in Capricorn and my self-worth. What do I find valuable? What do I believe about myself, about my ability to create, to manifest, to live a productive and yet abundant lifetime? Because Merlin offers that for you. Merlin offers alchemy, balance, and justice as this chapter closes. And right now it may feel a little bit sketchy. Because Aquarius, you're like, I don't know. I can't really see how it's going to work out, man. All I see is the house is on fire. All I see is I turn on the news and people are storming the Capitol and, being kooky. You can't go there. You can't go there, Aquarius. In many ways, this is where you go back to your natural place in the stars. And you say, thank you for, and I know you're going to think I'm crazy right now, but thank you in some ways for bringing these 10 squares into my awareness, so that rather than being victim to those squares, I can use them to build a strong foundation within my own mind. So I don't need to release things that have hurt me. I don't need to emotionally try to wipe the slate clean, but instead use those experiences as a staircase to ascend to my great awakening and my own power that I've been afraid of. Okay. Wow. I felt like Spirit took me over in that moment, like I was a preacher standing on the pulpit. All right, Capricorn, here we go. Capricorn's still got a lot of action going on up there. Why in the world are you, small wildflowers, keep getting hidden for review with your thumbs up and thumbs down. I don't understand. You should not be getting, maybe you're on a new device. I don't know, but you keep getting held for review. Okay. Thank you, Jen Shaw 07. What's going to happen to Trump? Do I have any ideas? This is kind of an interesting thing, Linda. It's a very, very, it's a slippery slope when you mention this gentleman's name, because he's a polarizing individual, to say the least. But I do believe that there is a divine disruption to his energy. There is something about him that is serving a greater good that we can't see right now. So don't be sorry, Linda. You can bring things up. I just don't want to necessarily breed an argument here. That's where, it's such a controversial thing. But I want to say this. If we look at this energy that's come towards us, there's two things I want to bring up. When Trump was elected, he had that narcissistic razor focus that, to me, superseded his platform, meaning his political platform. All I could see is that his razor focus was the law of attraction on steroids. It was like the law of attraction going berserk. His rockets of desire shooting into the universe to be president of this country superseded anybody else's. And he was also squarely footed in the law of allowing himself to be president. He didn't waver. He didn't think he wasn't qualified for 1 minute. And so because of that, he won the election. Then, I don't know, the next 4 years, I think his personality was akin to the disruptiveness of his way of being presented the world its own opportunity to have a certain focus and to implement that focus in a way that serves us. And I kind of think that we as a tribe here on Sunday morning, if we could pay attention to our own personal worlds, because the world is so big and so disruptive that if we go out here, it's like a drop in the ocean. But if we stick to our own individual worlds, it's like a glass of water and we have more influence over it. So Uranus is meant to bring about changes. Yes, I absolutely agree. But I want to offer it this way too, because what's really been bugging me lately is that Uranus rules Aquarius and Saturn ruled Aquarius in ancient times, and the energies could not be more polarizing. Okay, so this is where I'm going with this. As crazy as this may sound, maybe it is that actual polarization that brings about the Uranian changes. That's why it feels so shocking. So it is actually a house of clashing, a house of breaking the old so the new could come in. And the new will always feel alien because we've never experienced it before. The freedom to worship. When our forefathers, who were criminals, according to England, and many people within, the it wasn't the United States, but the new, I forget what we called ourselves before we were the United States, the New World, I think, I don't know. But they were criminals. They were people who were feared. And I go back and I've been doing a lot of listening to the Knights Templar and therefore the Masons and, different groups of people who really kind of work behind the scenes. Colonists. Thank you, Stephen, the colonies. Thank you, guys. I couldn't find the freaking word in my head. But anyway, I guess where I'm going with this, and I don't mean to get too distracted, but when I started to ask myself over and over again, how do I reconcile this clashing energy between Saturn and Uranus ruling Aquarius, and then all these squares going on in this sign, it kind of made sense to me, because I don't know how the ancients actually defined Aquarius, but now with this combination, I see why it has to be sort of kaboom. Uranus represents explosions, lightning, rawr, So here it is, lighting up the old structure and really asking us, does it serve you or don't you? Because if it does serve, you can keep it. But if it doesn't, bye-bye. Okay, let's go on to our Capricorns. And for those of you that are watching in the video, I apologize if I appear to jump all around, but there's so much to talk about, and each sign seems to inspire another thought to me through spirit about how we can use these squares and these transits to our benefit. Because, okay, so let me just back up for a second. Sorry, Juan. I'll get to Capricorn in a second. But I want to offer this because the new moon at 23 degrees Capricorn is going to affect Cancer. It's going to affect those at that degree and adjacent. It's going to square Libra and Aries, and it's going to oppose Cancer. So we don't really think about that. We think, oh, if it's only up here, So really kind of go back to your birth charts, you guys. Go back and look at the transits, and don't just look at where the clusters are. Look at the ripple effect, because that is like sort of this metaphor for what I talk about. We see it happening here, but it ripples, here up in Capricorn or here in Aquarius, but it's going to ripple out to Leo. It's going to ripple down to Cancer. And then obviously the squares. Okay. All right, here we go. Back to Capricorn. Thank you. Small black flowers. Okay, here we go. Finally. All right. Our first angel for Capricorn is Ariel. New psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view yourself and the world around you. In the opportunity or the obstacle, we have Chantal, the angel of romance. In the angel's advice, we have Teresa. And then we finally have Aurora. Okay. Ariel is being joined by the Earth Fairy. Chantal is being joined by the Forgiveness card. Teresa is being joined by the Butterfly. And Aurora is being joined by the Fire Fairy. This is very interesting to me because this Capricorn new moon conjunct Pluto. That's a big deal, right? Pluto's the little planet packs a big punch. And I want to offer it this way because I really believe that what Ariel is saying is that the new psychic and spiritual experiences, this is what I believe the last 2 years has been for Capricorn, transiting this house, going through this, having Jupiter come across this path of Pluto and Saturn has really put your beliefs and your connection, your faith, everything under review, under a microscope. And I think now that we're rewriting that, this Earth Fairy feels like it's very much about creating a new foundation. And this foundation is rewriting the rules. So here we go back to this Aquarius having Saturn and Uranus being the co-rulers of that sign. So here, Capricorn being ruled by Saturn. Somehow right now you're going through a metamorphosis. And I believe what's going to happen is that you're not going to fall in love with someone else. You're going to fall in love with actually the process of understanding the journey. Somewhere this, every human on this planet has walked a bit of a dark path. And whoever had a loss, I apologize. I see it scrolling. So I'm sorry for your loss as well. But what I want to say is that sometimes a loss opens us up to our heart up to more, because this Chantal for Capricorn is telling me that somehow you're going to understand process in a way that you're going to not fear it, but to rather enjoy it. And I say enjoy it because it becomes a path of discovery versus walking in the dark. And here in the Angel's Advice, we have Teresa, the card of worry, and then we have the Butterfly. It's unfortunate, but Saturn tends to, in its challenging vibrations, to look at it sort of as an Eeyore energy. Oh my, oh dear, oh my. And I feel like this is where the transformation comes. It goes from worry. But what I want to say, I guess you guys have heard, I can't really let things go. I need to integrate them. I need to understand them. I need to turn them into tools, and then I can release and let go. I believe a true Capricorn can't really release, because they are predisposed to look at how it was supposed to be and then what happened and blah, blah, blah. So now where I'm going with this is that you're going to start to understand some of those more challenging dynamics actually served you. They broke open an old way that didn't serve you and brings you into a new way of thinking so that you may thrive. And you're going to fall in love with life and with more aspects of life, not just the ones that are considered acceptable. Ooh, I got a new car. Ooh, I got a new watch. Ooh, I got a new girlfriend or wife. Ooh, all these material things. It's more like, how often do you ever say to yourself, oh, I was a good person today? I was a good person today. I think that's where we're going, because here again, we have the butterfly blossoming through challenge, through a dark time, and going beyond worry, because now Aurora sits in your final position saying, you're flying high right now. Don't descend, because you will soon inspire others. And here's the fire fairy. Capricorn, if indeed you've been in your more challenging dynamic and people have been seeing you be rigid or see you being, a stickler for the rules and it didn't serve anybody, the idea that these spiritual experiences are opening you up to a new viewpoint. And that viewpoint, to me, feels like it actually inspires others. And if for some reason you were chastising yourself for feeling negative or not always being able to be like, oh, I should have known this all along. Why did I spend all those years feeling sorry for myself or being depressed or, moving down a path that somebody else wanted for me? Like your parents, you'd be a good attorney. So you go to law school and then you get your law degree and then you think, well, I can't. I spent all this money on my law degree. I must continue. But you don't even like it. This is where everything breaks up. And this is how I feel like you inspire others, because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourself. And they're seeing you do it with a different vibration. Now we go back to Chiron squaring Venus in Capricorn, Chiron in Aries, willing to take action, to look at my wound, to what I value. And do I really value this because it's for me, for what I want, for what makes me happy, or for what makes other people feel like I'm happy? You'd be surprised how many people run their lives on the idea that they think they're happy, but they're really happy because other people approve of what they're doing with their lives. Holy scamoly. Not the greatest platform, if you ask me. Only if it's in alignment isn't the great platform. Okay, on to our Sagittariuses. And I want to say this too, Black Diamond 9, thank you for your comment. Because you know what, when we start doing for ourselves, initially people may think it's selfish. But what happens is it actually shows a selflessness. Because as we move towards what really truly makes us happy, we just walk around in a happier vibration. If you think about when you fall in love, how it's like so euphoric and you're like, oh my God, I've never felt so beautiful. I've never felt so abundant. Everybody's so nice to me. Do you think that's happening because you suddenly fell in love? No, it's happening because of your vibration and your perception of suddenly falling in love. Chew on that one for a minute. Venus squaring Chiron. Thank you, Ruth, saying it the same way. Chiron squaring Venus. Okay, on to Sagittarius. I got to move it along if I'm going to keep this to the hour and a half that I try to do every week. I apologize, people, but there's a lot to talk about right now. I'm telling you, I could talk about any one of these transits for days. Okay. Ooh. Sagittarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Your planet's here. Jupiter is here, and it is talking to you. Shanti, the angel of peace, is in the foundational position. Archangel Raphael is offering physical healing, just not for you, but for others. Crystal is saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. And Bridget is asking you to look deeper into this situation. This is interesting. All right, Stephen, here we go. This is for you and all your fellow Sagittarian risings and moon, sun and stelliums. Okay. Shanti is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Risk card. Crystal's being joined by the Earth Fairy. And Bridget's being joined by the Grail Knight. Wow, Sagittarius, this is so powerful. So let's just look at this. This week, Jupiter will be exactly squaring Uranus on the 17th. This is very powerful. And the exact is not even, I mean, yes, it's powerful when it's exact, but you've got to remember, Uranus doesn't move fast and Jupiter doesn't really move fast either. It takes a year to go through a sign. So this is going to be a period of time. And what is going to be happening is Uranus is going to be the great awakener to your beliefs. What do you really believe about yourself? Because in the foundational position, Shanti, the angel of peace, is offering you peace. But do you have the courage to have the self-respect and responsibility to demand it? And I don't mean from others, but from yourself. What's true to my heart? Excalibur is the sword of truth. And here it is in the midst of an emotional storm. Her hair is flying everywhere. The water is churning, representing my emotions, representing my intuitions, and knowing that my truth is going to create a storm. But what do? Do I sit and just drown in this water? Do I just let the storm take me over? Or do I claim my peace? Because Archangel Raphael says the healing comes through the risk. The risks to believe a bigger picture of who and what you are. And I want to offer this to each one of the people in this tribe listening either in the video or live. You're here as part of a collective that wants to rewrite this planet. And not in a way that is disruptive, but adds to the peace. Because here for Sagittarius is the angel saying, have faith and hope. There's something new on the rise and there's a new foundation. There's a new ground to stand on. But it's going to take the brave knight to bow down to the truth. And that truth is where we go back to Chiron squaring Venus. And not Venus in the sense of beauty and love, beauty and intimate love, but the idea of Venus saying you're beautiful at every stage of life. You know, it's not just youth that is beautiful. It is not just money that makes somebody beautiful. Yes, it gives you resources, but there's many other things. And those are coming into the forefront as we enter the Aquarian age. So Sagittarius, as you allow yourself your deepest truth. And again, I think this is a process. I don't think this is like you wake up and you go, oh, this is my truth. I want to be, in a happy relationship. The deeper truth is, where am I co-creating my unhappiness? And this is not about placing judgment. It's about somewhere you've aligned and agreed to something. And that agreement is no longer serving you, because it may have served you at a time, but it doesn't now. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to think of an example I can for myself. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I figure you all get it. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios. I cannot help but think that, while Scorpio's not necessarily been, talked about in the forefront, Pluto's been doing so much stuff that I got to think it's affecting you too. Okay, well, it's affecting us all. Who are we kidding? Really, Black Diamond 9, I feel like this is what's going to be such the benefit of the age of Aquarius is really, it feels not just the age of intellect. Yes, Aquarius is scientifically minded, but it's also, to me, I believe it's a very spiritual dynamic as well. Because when we step outside of this earthly experience, we see the universe from a different perspective. And I just lost my train of thought, but I didn't at the same time, because I went to this, I've been watching a lot of the History Channel, and I went to this Ancient Aliens show that I've seen a few times. And I feel like, well, I'm convinced that we're going to discover life on other planets, and we're going to start to embrace that idea. I feel like the first step in embracing other things is to embrace ourselves here. And that's what all this disruption is about. And it's not about, if you want to say it this way, I'm going to be a little crazy. Most animals all look alike. right? They all lionesses kind of look alike. There's subtle differences, but there's this main feature. And humans are very different. So for me, there's this evolution of embracing the difference, and rather than having to conquer and overcome the differences, it's celebrating them. And that's what Uranus and Saturn have to bring together, a meeting of the old and the new. There's got to be a reason that those two polarizing energies are in one sign, rule one sign. So there you go. All right, let's go on to Scorpio. I'm not sure how to say that. Someone asked me if I'm an astrologer. I think of myself, I'm an angel therapy practitioner. I believe that I work in the angelic realm and channel messages from the other side for us to empower us to walk through this human experience. And at the same time, Spirit uses my own experiences and my own interests and inspires some interests, so they can use those vessels for my intuition. So I would call myself an intuitive astrologer. I'm constantly studying and learning, and at the same time, I feel very confident about the information that comes through. And it's because I'm not an astrologer that is going through the scientific learning of it, but combining that scientific learning with my intuitive knowing. I have Neptune and Mercury in the 8th house of Scorpio. I just think that way. Okay, here we go. Scorpio rising, sun, moon, and stelliums. Stelliums are important. When you have 4 or more planets in one sign or house, it is extremely important. Lada says it's a special mission you've chosen. Okay, so for our Scorpios, our first angel is Bridget. The second is Athena. The third is Serena. And the final is Akasha. Woo. All right, Scorpio. Joining Bridget is the bee. Joining Athena is the wind fairy. Joining Serena is the truth. And joining Akasha is the spider. So here we have Pluto playing with the new moon. Yay! Bridget is saying to look deeper into a situation. And I want to offer it this way. The bee is a very, very powerful energy for me. Not only is the bee integral to our environment, without the bee, our whole ecosystem would disintegrate. But I want to say this is about my being energy. It's about my good luck. It's about victory. And I want to offer it this way, because this being energy is not about judging yourself. It's really about looking deeper into what is important to me, what isn't important to me. What I think is, like, let's just say Laura said, I think you always learn and evolve with astrology. Scorpio rules astrology. I agree 100% because I believe that God and the angels gave us the heavens to look to for comfort, for guidance. And as we learn the language of it, it helps support us. So as my Scorpios look into, what do you believe about yourself? Because I want to say it this way, initially that may feel like you have I believe, and then the insecurity kicks in. But if you ask yourself that again, I don't know, maybe that Scorpion goes, you know what? I don't know. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm bigger and better than this. I have a client who's a Scorpio with Pluto in the first house. That's very powerful, very intuitive, and trust that. Because what I think is happening for you, where the liberation is coming for you, where Chiron is squaring Venus, is in how you perceive what you think. And this to me is very much where you start to assert yourself in a way that's very different than you have before. And that might be where you have married the idea of what your mind does versus what your intuitions do. Because I believe that if you look deeper into your being energy and trust the Plutonian, what appears to be darkness, the thing that's kind of scary about intuition, and why I think most people have there's a leeriness to it is because when you first start to really tap into the truth of who you are, that energetic knowing versus what the mind tells you, is it tends to be sort of in a base vibration, boom, 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 boom. And this is where the challenging energies are. They vibrate lower. And then as we move up the scale of vibration, frequency, then we start to see the experiences more harmonic, more peaceful. So for me, I think this is where Scorpio has the opportunity to assert themselves into how they think. And is it really true for me? Because the abundance, Serena offers abundance through a certain sense of, it's almost, I want to say, surrender. It's not releasing. It's not letting it go. It's surrendering to a bigger truth. And in this moment, that truth may be, I have no idea how to stop thinking. Because you don't have to stop. That's a resistant energy. It's the surrender. All right, I'm going to just have this loopy thought, because this is where I'm going with this. Akasha is the spiritual teacher, and here's the spider. And I feel like there is something about the action of that word surrender comes very strongly to me, because if I cannot influence a situation, if I cannot move it right now, what good does it do me to chew on it, to constantly chew on it? And that's where the stinger comes in, Scorpio, where you can get so upset and your feelings get hurt, where you just, you chew on it. So rather than that, just say, you know what, Spirit, I know that there's a reconciliation coming. I know that I am victorious over this situation. My intuition is clouded by my mind catching on to all of these things that are being shot out into the universe through the media, through people that, we see on the Nextdoor app and blah, blah, blah. So I can't believe, Small Wildflowers, you just keep getting hidden. Sorry if you're watching the video, because this is what I'm saying. Scorpio, you're about to get that fly into the web, and you're about to transform into that vibration of where Pluto's much more serving to you, where your intuitions are becoming solid. That's the way I want to put it. And not solid like the outside world agrees with them as much as you trust them. You're like, you know what? I'm not so sure I'm going to move forward on that. I'm going to wait a second, because I think something's up. And that's where I get victorious, because when I look deeper into a situation, I'm not looking with my mind. I'm looking with my intuition. All right, let's go on to our Libras. Small Wildflowers, are you on a new device of some kind? Because you keep getting hidden by, and as a moderator, I'm surprised you're being hidden. Okay, here we go. Okay, well, I don't know what it is. All right, here we go. Libra, rising. Woo! Oh my goodness, I just dropped like a whole half of the deck. Let me get it. I'll be back. All right. Libra, our first angel is Chantal. The second is Daniel. The third is Merlina. And the final is Azure. Wow. Which card flew? All of them. Half the deck flew. Just like whoosh. I couldn't even tell you how many of them flew. All right, this is interesting. Chantal is the angel of romance. And here we have Venus squaring Chiron. I wonder if there's a potential that some Libras, because you know what? Depending upon where you are, your Libra sun, Chiron would be squaring that as well. Venus could be squaring your sun, Libra, or your moon, or your rising, depending upon the degree. So I think, as I recall, where's my notes? Hold on. Venus is at 5 degrees. So if you look at your birth chart, Libra, and you see, I happen to be a late degree Libra, 23 degrees. So it's not quite squaring me. Very, very, very loose, but it's squaring me all over the place. The new moon is squaring me. So look, because this Venus and this square is at 5 degrees, which is the Leo degree, which is the romance degree. So I'm going with this. So Libra, Chantal is being joined by the cat. Daniel's being joined by the bee card. Merlina's being joined by the dog. Oh my goodness. And Azure is being joined by the queen. All right, my Libras. I got to tell you, there is a very high probability that during all of this mayhem and craziness, you're going to find somebody, or love might be offered to you in the most unusual way. Chantal is the angel of romance. And here's the cat. And the cat talks about independence and healthy boundaries. And I saw 9 lives. It's the thing we associate with the cat, the very first cliche per se. And I want to offer it this way because, Libras have been going through quite a challenging time over the last couple of years. We don't talk about, we focus on Capricorn because it's up there in their house, but that square, holy moly. So I think that Libra may have been feeling slightly deflated is the word I want to use, deflated in their love life up until now. And now I think that there's some sort of resurgence coming, and you may be ready. You may just think, I'm ready for love to enter my life. I'm ready to be victorious over my story. Daniel's the angel of marriage. So now we've got the angel of romance in the foundational position. We have the opportunity and or obstacle is marriage. But here, this feels like an opportunity because when I'm willing to look at my story, Daniel says, what's the history you bring into a relationship or into the thoughts of your love life? And most of us from a very young age tend to, our history gets set up very quickly. And we focus in on what didn't happen. So now we're victorious over that because we've said to Spirit, you know what? I don't know where love's going to come from. It's a crazy time, but I am open. And I'm going to put Spirit in charge of bringing that love into my life because, again, this is my opportunity and also my obstacle. Because if you're stuck in your history, Libra, and you're so hurt or you've been so dinged by another person's behavior, then that might be your being energy as well. So as you shift that being energy into opening yourself up, love is coming. Look at the dog in the angel's advice. And I think that this is about love that you couldn't see, love you weren't prepared for, and love that through the experiences that you have had will make this new relationship or the resurgence of your relationship sweeter and more aligned, because in the final position, I have Azure. Your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. And then there's the queen. The queen is fertility and also about reception. So let me offer it this way. I haven't said this in a while, but I'm being inspired to say it again. Spirit has shown me that many, many people have chosen to discover and rediscover love at later chronological age because we're rewriting the aging process. We're rewriting the human experience. And if that isn't evidenced in our structures, I don't know what is. And so in addition to what we're seeing happening in our politics, in our school system, in our work life, this is also happening in our love life on an emotional level. So now Libra, Spirit is saying, get out of your balanced head and get a little bit into the idea that new things are coming. And you may not be able to see that. You may not be able to define where it's coming from, but your job isn't. Your job is to pay attention to your being energy. What do I really believe about myself? Because if I believe that, maybe love, when I look back on my life, I don't really see anybody that I should have been with. So what am I mourning? What am I so sad about? Because Merlina in the angels, you're confused and indecisive because you don't have enough information. because the angels are bringing that love that comes like, this is the funny thing I want to say about the dog, because, the dog gets a lot of different, he's a dog, and that's referring to a guy that's going and, bumping up against a bunch of girls. And then, the dog is man's best friend. There's so many definitions of the dog. So here, define your dog, baby. In this particular case, this is the dog that loves you, that follows you, that walks with you. And then spirit will bring this to you. And then you will stand as one of the pillars that shows how disruption is the doorway to your dreams. On to Virgo. Let's do it, baby. I find that anything that is loved is loyal. Meaning any kind of, I don't know about a rock, because, I've got plenty of crystals, but they don't know but I had cats for many, many years. And while they're not emotional in the way my dogs are, they are, my cats were extremely loving and extremely clingy, really. So, yeah. All right, here we go. On to our Virgos, rising sun, moon, and stallions. Woo. My shuffling sense is here today. Oh my goodness gracious. My shuffling skills are really lacking. All right, here we go. Our first angel is Ariel. The second is Merlina. The third is Maya. And the final is Athena. Hi, Keegan. Good to see you. Hi, MJBM. Hey, Tebow, Virgo rising. Hi, Livy. Hi, bomb.com. I haven't been able to say hi to everyone. Hi, Lucid Juicy. Or I said that wrong. Lucidity Lucy. Sorry, that was a tongue twister. Hi, Adrian. All right, Virgo, here we go. Ariel is being joined by the Truth card. Merlina is being joined by the Burden card. Maya is being joined by the Frog. And Athena is being joined by the Focus card. It's interesting to me as I look at Ariel, and, Ariel is very much about new psychic and spiritual experiences changing the way we view things. So those experiences are somehow in the 3D world. They've been anchored. And I want to offer it this way, because to me, for Virgo, there must be some ring of truth that you're feeling in these experiences. And, spiritual experiences aren't burning bushes. They're not, the Red Sea parting necessarily. They're subtle. Oftentimes they're subtle. And it is the trained heart that allows the ears and the eyes to see those experiences. So for me, I feel like for Virgo, when you're looking for where is spirit showing me new experiences, look for your truth either being validated or your truth being acknowledged or somebody else aligned to a truth with you. Because right now, I feel like of all the signs, you may be having the hardest time with the world events, because the world right now, between the virus and the offshoots of the virus and the political dynamic and blah, 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 blah. There's the Burden card in Merlina. You're confused and indecisive because you don't have enough information. And I believe that isn't really about information. It feels like the unknown. Where are things going? How are they going to play out? Who's going to, go kookalicious next? What's going to happen? And I feel like for my Virgos, this is in the Angel's Advices, Maya, the card of schooling and education, and there's the Frog. And I could say this is about cleaning up your emotional house. I could think about that, but I don't think so. Because when you're a Virgo, we all have an imprint. You know, our birth chart is an imprint of who and what we are. That imprint never goes away. It's almost like a watermark. Even if we evolve past some of the challenging aspects, they still sit in the background. And if they're stared at long enough, they're seen clearly. So this to me feels like Virgo learning how to look at the watermark, if it makes any sense, or where to put my focus. Because in the final position, we have Athena saying it's safe for you to lovingly assert yourself. And then there's the focus card. And the focus card is in direct relation to Ariel and the truth card. So again, there is not one universal truth. Truth is a perception and in many ways a collective agreement. So as your ruling planet Mercury goes through and literally, okay, so if Mercury is squaring Uranus, then it's also conjunct Saturn and it's conjunct Jupiter. So many people in the mix, I'm keeping it in my head. So where I'm going with this is that as this week unfolds, as this new moon unfolds, and as we see some seriously weird stuff going on in the world, because I can't even begin to describe how Uranus is going to mix it up a little bit and how it's going to play out. Because just like nobody could predict that normal human beings, or what we think are normal human beings, stormed the Capitol, there's going to be more crazy stuff going on. So Virgo, the truth is your truth, and your truth being connecting with spirit and saying, you know what, not only do I see these things within my mind, I want to learn them through experience. And while I know that right now it's a burden for me to sit in this unknowing place, I am willing to leapfrog as I learn off the lily pad I sit into. And then I start to understand that my focus is also part of the mix. That's where I'm going. All right. On to our Leos. I have the new moon somewhere on the 12th or the 13th, depending upon where you are in the world. Anyway. Okay. You know what? What, Ruth? What do we know? That's what. Are you being funny, making a joke? Okay, here we go. On to our Leos. Take a quick sip of my drink. A little slow today, guys. My favorite thing about a new moon is that the sky is so dark that you can see the stars. I love the stars. I love looking at them. Okay. All right, my Leos, what is up? Our first angel is Serena. The second is Archangel Gabriel. The third is Indriel. And the final is Celeste. As I read Empress High Priestess's comment, I can't help but agree. But, sometimes shifting our perception is not easy to do. We have a way of thinking, and it almost feels like it grips us. So this is where I really feel like it's important to call upon our team. They're not really like, a parent seeing a child about to fall down will grab the child and protect it from harming itself. Whereas in spirit, they know we're not really harming ourselves. So what they do is they wait for our invitation. And I found the most powerful invitation is an invitation for experiences that anchor in these concepts that they're giving me. And as the concepts get anchored, they become a reality for me, which allows me to go with the flow. So Serena is being joined by the partnership card. This is kind of where I'm going with go with the flow. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the love card. Indriel is being joined by the butterfly. All right, Leo, here we go. And Merlin's being joined by Celeste. I'm sorry. Celeste is being joined by Merlin. Okay, so I really want to say that Serena's a card of abundance. She talks about money coming in straight up. It's God's in charge of that, but I don't think it's about money this week. I think it's about value. Yes. I think it's about what we value. I think it's about so many dynamics right now are asking us, the square between Uranus and Jupiter is asking us to revolutionize our beliefs. The square between, and this is going to get much more intense in February. And 3 times, I believe, this year we have Uranus and Saturn squaring each other to the point of being exact. And that's going to happen again in December, once I think again in June. So we have almost like this beginning, middle, and end. It's like a romantic comedy. Right now we're setting it up. Then we have the second act break, and then we have the conclusion that takes us off into the happy ending. So this for me is a time to really, truly be serene, Leo. This is a time maybe not to roar and not to assert yourself in too powerful a way, but the other way. To see that serenity through a sense of calm. And that's what the partnership is. It's not a partnership with others. It's a partnership with, it's all good. I'm going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. Fun will come back to us. Our lives are going to go back to a place that may not be the normal we knew, but it will be a normal that we embrace and love because we're writing it. So for Leo, interestingly enough, Archangel Gabriel talks about communications. I'm seeing her today as working with Mercury. And not just about communications, but really reviewing, what do I love? What do I think about what I love? What do I talk about what I love? What do I read about what I love? How do I spend my time in what I love? Because as we spend time in what we love, we help the transformation. Here's the angel's advice. The butterfly and Indriel. Indriel says to shine your light. The world needs your light right now in the midst of this transformation, in the midst of this time when it appears so dark, because in the final position is Celeste and Merlin. And Celeste talks about a new home or a new place of employment, ushering in new energies. But for me personally, you can move my physical body anywhere and it's not going to shift. I think a certain way. I'm going to take those actions based on how I think. So now there's a shift in my mind, Leo. And that shift in my mind brings in balance. It brings in abundance. It brings in magic and fruition of the things I want. And that shift was one in working with spirit and relaxing, going into ease. In the moments when we tend to be polarized. This is good. This is bad. This works. This doesn't work. If in that moment, Leo, you could take the far reaching corners and come somewhere in the middle. Thank you, Spirit. I'm in partnership with my ease. And because I'm in partnership with my ease, I'm going to think about, speak about, talk about, and teach what I love. And when I do that, I start to see light in the midst of this transformation. And in doing so, I shift not only myself, but the people experiencing me. I've been talking a lot about the idea that the sun and rules the universe, rules our solar system, and it governs Leo. Leo is about personal pleasure, romance. It's all about fun. There's really nothing bad about Leo, except it's a little boastful sometimes, It walks in the room and it's like so excited to have a good time that, those of us that think, well, there's a serious stuff going on in the outside world. Don't be having so much fun when there's so much calamity around. Hoy, that's the back and the back. Those are the far-reaching ones. We come in the middle. Yeah, there's calamity going around, and we can still have a good time. We can still focus in on what brings us joy. I do that a lot when I look at my dog. My dog in his cone right now. He's having allergies. All right, let's go on to our Cancers. And I want to say this because I think this moon is going to affect Cancer somehow. I want to say that those that are, in the late degrees of Cancer, for some reason, it's really hitting me that this new moon is in some sort of opposition. And that opposition, that tug of war, is going to illuminate something. All right, here we go. And I go backwards, everybody. If you're new to my show, I start at Pisces and work my way towards Aries. I started that about, a year ago during a Mercury retrograde. And I just stuck and kept it that way because everybody goes the other way. So this is my Libra balancing out the rest of the world. All right. Cancer, our first angel in the foundational position is Layla. Our second in the opportunity or the obstacle is Merlina. The third in the angel's advice is Daniel, the angel of marriage. And the final is Mystique, the angel of perseverance. Thank you, Z. Thank you, Empress High Priestess. I'm glad you guys are enjoying your time here with me and the tribe on Sunday mornings, or Sunday wherever it is in the world, or maybe it's Monday. Okay. Layla is being joined by the spider. Merlina is being joined by the fear card. Daniel's being joined by the cat. And Mystique is being joined by the wealth card. Okay. Cancer. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Layla talks about spending time in nature, having a conversation, And also this is about really communing with God and the angels to get a new perspective. And this perspective is really, to me, the spider is about creativity now. It talks about creative action and creative projects. And of all the signs, and it's just really been hitting me lately how much this Capricorn activity has been opposing Cancer and creating a lot more havoc than anybody would realize for Cancer. And because Cancer is ruled by the moon, by their emotions, by their intuitions, and this weird, scary ripple effect out there in the world, I think has really been affecting you. So now as we go into this month of extreme 2 months, 2.5, 3 months of this first part of the year, there are like hangover energies of transformation. Look up to the stars. Look up to your moon. I know there's no moon this week because it's a new moon, but as the week progresses, because I feel like this is where you will find inspiration. This is where you'll find connection. You'll find solace. Because I think right now fear is very much the news, the opinions of others, I have someone in my life that I know, and God bless her soul. She means well, but she's very much a strategic thinker, and she does not believe she's fear-based. But all the strategies she's always running are fear-based. So here we have false evidence appearing real, or is there fear? Because you're going to be confused. You're not going to have enough information. So the way Cancer is going to remedy that is to go into your intuition, into your intuitive body. When I was first, I wasn't even studying intuition yet. I was still super young, and I used to worry sometimes about things. When I was young, the Hillside Strangler was around. There was a lot of serial killers in the 70s, and I was a youth. I was in my teens in the 70s, and so I remember saying to God, because I was considered myself a Christian back then, am I vulnerable to these scary things going on in the world? And that's when I would go to my deeper knowing, and I would feel this feeling of protection. There was something more going on. I feel like for my Cancers this week, it's really important to go deeper. And when I say deeper, I mean that first hit is going to be fear-based. It's going to be, oh no. But when you go deeper, I think that's where spirit will allow you to believe that there's 9 lives. And here's Daniel, the angel of marriage. Here, this is about history now. This is really about your own history is confusing yourself. The stories you've been told, the stories that you've experienced, what you know of this world that is very real. Because now is a time to keep your eye on the prize, to keep charging ahead, to expect miraculous solutions. And this is the harmonious wealth card. So I'm going to look at it this way. Sometimes the dark is what illuminates the light. When we've been in a dark room and somebody flips the lights on, it hurts our eyes at first. And then we adjust and then we acclimate. This is what this feels like for me. There was a sadness that was overcoming. There was a foreboding. Maybe you knew how hard this was going to be, Cancer, because intuitively you just kept feeling something's off. And then suddenly it's all starting to come together, because as you trust those intuitive, the fear-based intuitive, and then ask spirit to bring you to a higher vibration, what does this have to offer us? And that's where the wealth comes in. That's where the new moon, the planet that rules you and being conjunct Pluto, offers you a way out of the dark in some respects. But that's still an unknowing. And that's why you have to dig even deeper onto the interior. What is it that I want to experience for myself? That's where I'm going with this. Okay. Boss B, I guess that's boss man with 2 5s. Your question is rather interesting. I'm doing intuitive angel advice for traversing the transits on this astrology channel. I don't know if you're part of the subscribers here, but this is all based on what's going on this week. We have a lot of activity in the stars, and these are the angels giving us advice on how to traverse those transits. Now we're going on to Gemini. This is very powerful. Your ruling planet is being affected, squaring in part of these squares. So here we go. Gemini, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. So does the wrench meant that you were small? Did you have a wrench that meant you were a mod? I think I need to see if you're still a modifier. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Forgive me for a momento, please. Where's this? Why won't this let me see anything? Okay, let's see. Do you have your wrench back, small? I thought you meant a literal wrench. That's why I didn't respond last time. Do you have your little wrench now on your icon so you can be a moderator again? Somehow you got off, I think. I see yes, but I don't know if you're answering me yes. Oh, there's your wrench. Exactly. Now you're back. I see it. Yes, you do. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Just a little bit of admin we had to do. Gemini, our first angel is Archangel Gabriel, the angel of communications here. We have Yvonne, the angel of vulnerability. We have Patience, the angel of synthesizing knowledge. And we have Astera, the angel of reaching for the stars with dreams and desires. Okay. Forgot about that little wrench. All right. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the disruption card. Yvonne is being joined by the focus card. Patience is being joined by the frog. And Astera is being joined by the stag. You know, I can't help but when I look at this Archangel Gabriel and I see the disruption card together, I feel like this is very much feels like a disruption in communications. And I want to say it this way because I feel like Gemini is trying. I don't even think of this as an interior job, meaning I don't think you're swaying back and forth in the way you're thinking, speaking, writing. I think it's the way people are hearing things. It almost feels like this week there's some sort of weird fog in front of you. Say one thing and people hear something else. And so I want to offer you to not have too intense conversations this week. And if you are required to because you're working or because there's deadlines of some kind, make sure to really take your time and just speak slowly and succinctly. Archangel Gabriel and the disruption card makes me feel like there's a disruption in communications, which makes me feel slightly insecure. And I don't think it's like an insecurity as if I'm insecure with one person as much as it makes me feel just sort of insecure overall. Because in the opportunity and or the obstacle, we have Yvonne. For me, it's a card of a card of vulnerability. It talks about having a way with animals. She shows the kitten on the face of the card. But for me, I was always the mom of cats. Lucky's my first dog. And I was always very vulnerable to the cats when I was stressed out and insecure. So Gemini, I think that Spirit is asking you in your opportunity or your obstacle to look and see where your focus is making you feel vulnerable. Because now is a time to really pay attention to your own activities. Because for me, this is an opportunity to really see how I think. The frog represents the cleaning up of our house. Well, the house of the mind. This is where we live. It's where we think. So this cleaning up idea is not about trying to, exterminate a thought or to stop thinking a certain way. It's more about just noticing if that thought is really working for you or if it's putting you in a loop. I have, some people may disagree with this, but I have kind of a bit of a disagreement with traditional therapy. In the sense that they want to go back and talk about your childhood forever and a day. What did your mommy do? What did your daddy do? Blah, blah, blah. All of that is history that can't be changed. So while I agree that it should be used as a reference point, I believe it's super important to focus on where you want to go, what you want to feel versus the opposite. So to me, this week, there's really a focus on how does Gemini process information? How do you process your emotions? Where do you default to? Then I go to Venus and Chiron, that square, and I say, how do I value myself? What do I want for myself? Because I can heal a wound if I'm willing to be authentic in that. Am I drawing a conclusion because something hasn't happened yet? Or am I drawing the conclusion because there's hard, cold evidence that is true? Because I don't think it is. That's where I'm going. So whatever is the disruption in your communication requires you to be vulnerable to your own focus. And in that vulnerability of your focus, you're co-creating, which gives you a place of leadership. Because in the final position for my Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, Astera is saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and your desires and don't compromise. That's not about talking to the outside world about the feasibility of your dreams and your desires. It's not about talking to other human beings. It's about talking to Spirit and then being willing to put down your pride in what you've already experienced. Because as the song goes, bless the broken road, every single one of those people in the past led you to where you're coming to in this new age, in this new dynamic. So Gemini, very much, I feel like this is kind of a good thing. It may not feel good in the beginning, but I think it will feel better as you move forward because that focus is going to be like an anchor. It's going to be something that makes you feel like you're powerful. All right, let's go on to Taurus. I feel like there's a lot of action for Taurus, whether you realize it or not. I don't say you, I mean the big you, because Uranus is squaring everything. So Uranus is like the common denominator. You know what? I did not say thank you. I believe, was it DK or Rasmus? Somebody sent me a little tip and I want to thank you for the super chat. I'm sorry I didn't say thank you at the time. I'm trying not to interrupt during the readings, even though I do anyway. No, Keegan, Gemini is not in any danger. I mean, obviously, if you walk off the, put yourself on the end of a cliff, Rasmus, thank you very much. You might be in danger, but I don't think anybody, this is not a time, this is what I want to say. I don't think danger is coming to our door. If people are in danger, there's a certain amount of them being out in a situation that brings it about. That's what I want to say. So if indeed you want to exercise your civil rights, be mindful. If you get a creepy feeling and it's getting out of control, get out of there. That's where I'm going. Because I think that the thing that's scary right now is the unconscious person who's reacting to all of these transits and doesn't even know they're doing it. I know these transits are happening, and I can feel my Mars wanting to argue with people about nothing, argue with people I don't even care about, just because they weren't nice or they weren't charming enough or whatever my predisposition is. So be mindful of that, because it's not your fault. Exactly, Ruth. That led me straight to you. You got my reference. Good going, girl. All right. Taurus. Our first angel is Celeste. The second is Rosetta. The third is Ray. And the final is Chantal. Ooh. You know, Black Diamond 9, when you ask how would you develop patience, it's almost surrendering to impatience. That's how I would develop patience. Because if I focus in on I need to be patient, then there's an underlying vibration that I'm resisting being impatient. So if I flip the script and say, well, I see that I'm impatient and I'm surrendering to that, I'm more likely to be patient. We're always rubbing up against the biggest tension when we're resisting something. Okay, I am on to Taurus. Rising, moon, sun, and stellium. Celeste is being joined by the choice card in form of the mystery card. Rosetta is being joined by the high priestess. Ray is being joined by the raven. And Chantal is being joined by the deer. This is very interesting to me. So Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is in a square with Chiron in Aries. Right now, that doesn't really. Uranus is not affecting the Chiron Venus square, but this is where I'm going with this. I'm a little choppy because I'm listening in my head and trying to talk at the same time. I think for my Tauruses that there's something that's going to happen that's going to shift the way you're thinking. Celeste talks about a new home or a new place of employment ushering in new energy, and that's possible. But again, being a Taurus moon, I think a certain way. I have very strong emotions, and I walk on those emotions. I walk on those beliefs. I don't shift because somebody moved my body somewhere. So now this is about Taurus being open to shifting, to using the Uranus energy that's transiting through your sign to liberate you so that you truly can move yourself into a higher vibration of what you want to experience. Because in the opportunity and or the obstacle is Rosetta and the high priestess. And as a collective, I think this is very much about adopting a more innocent belief in the world, having a bigger vision of things. But I also feel like there's many of you that may want to start families, may want to work with children, or be more involved in connectedness in some way. So this is where I'm going with this, because right now this is both your opportunity and or your obstacle. Because Taurus, there's a part of you that if you can't see it, then it's not going to happen. No, it's going to happen. But part of it is trusting your intuition. And that's the childlike innocence. Because in the angel's advice is Ray and the timing card. So Ray, if you look at it on the face of the card, talks about yoga and exercise. I don't believe that. She's sitting in a meditative position. Her arms are open in the Om position. And she is got her third eye connected to her power chakra, flanked by her heart chakra, and then her throat chakra. So now this is time to connect with spirit and realize that there's certain things that there's a timing issue. And the timing means this. It's not suddenly that your, fairy godmother came down and bestowed happiness on your head, Taurus. It's more about there's pieces of the puzzle that come together. So you do your part by shifting the way you're thinking, by focusing in on what you want, that allows spirit to truly bring to you what it is that you want. And now we get to it. There's Chantal, the angel of romance. So at the very end of the day, Taurus, I believe you want to fall in love. I believe if you are in love, you want a more revived, vital experience. And now is time to be gentle and diplomatic during this time, rather than being the bull. You know, sometimes we think when we stomp our feet that people are going to listen. I want it this way, but very often they do not. Very often we have the opposite effect. It creates more distance. So for me, when I look at this and my Taurus moon, because I've thought about this a lot, I've got Pluto, I've had Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter squaring my rising, squaring my sun, Pluto and my Mars, and then Uranus transiting my moon. And it feels like I'm becoming a whole different human being while I'm still the same person I always was. Out of nowhere, 6 months ago, I just woke up one day and I didn't want to have a drink again. I didn't want to drink any more wine with dinner. I've drank wine forever in a day. Not that I got drunk, I just enjoyed it. Now I tasted it, it tastes weird to me. There's some things that are happening, and I think what's happening for Taurus is an alignment that is beyond the physical. It's taking you to a new place. And that's why part of this has to be your choice to align with that bigger version of yourself. This bigger version of yourself. And then rather than all of a sudden I've aligned to the bigger version of myself, now you don't throw yourself under the bus because it hasn't happened yet. You realize, oh, I've had this epiphany. I've had this awakening. Uranus offered me this awakening. Yeah, it blew out everything that didn't work anymore. But now it's laying fertile ground for me to feel something much more amazing, much more aligned. And my job is to be gentle and diplomatic with myself as I walk this unknown path. And it's unknown because I have to keep choosing it over and over again right now as the old structures fall away. All right, let's go on to our final sign, Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay. Okay. Here we go, Aries. Yep. A lot of stuff going on. And, I got to tell you, with Mars in the mix, you guys, Mars is almost conjunct Uranus. I didn't talk about that much, but I will just say on a side note, be mindful where you go and what time, I want to say exercise caution in some ways. With Mars sitting right up against Uranus in Taurus, I just think this next couple of months could be very interesting. And I don't want to think that everybody's just going to lose their mind and act, react is a better word. But I do want to very much, as a light worker, I want us all to think about the ripple effect that we create, because I guess I'm saying this because Aries is Mars ruled. So here I'm stepping into Aries energy, and it may be your natural inclination is to go, excuse me? I don't think so. And in some ways that would be declaring war against whatever the situation is. So if you can in some ways have that consciousness in that moment, decide, do I really want to do this? Do I care enough about this? Do I care enough about this to go to war? Because sometimes I know my Mars and my Aries rising, it just says, yeah, I'll just go to war because I am. And sometimes people use arguments to blow off steam. All right, here we go. Aries, our first angel is Astera. The second is Isaiah. The third is Zana. And the final is Maya. Hey, Small, you want to use your wrench? Take care of our little troubled child. Okay, Astera is being joined by the forgiveness card. Isaiah is being joined by the stag. Xana's being joined by the wind fairy. And Maya's being joined by the hawk. Well, this seems very interesting to me, okay? Because Astera says, reach for the stars with your dreams and your desires and don't compromise. And here is the forgiveness card. And I don't think it's about forgiveness. I think that this is really about, I've been saying to you guys as an Aries rising, there's certain situations that have happened that have just got me like for no reason, just thinking, and this to me is really where I am reconciling my focus. And I don't want to be stuck in anger all the time. I want the higher vibrations of Aries. I'm proud to be an Aries rising. I love being an Aries rising. And so this is where I'm going to reach for the stars and I'm going to say, thank you, Spirit, for fostering and helping me be the highest vibration Aries rising I can be, because it's time to give birth to new ideas as evidenced by Isaiah and stand in leadership. And that leadership is not about leading others per se, follow me. It's more about me standing in a vibration of knowing that I am a strong spiritual warrior, but do I need to go to war? Because we are now learning how as we assess a situation, Spirit is saying to Aries, look at the situation, because we are going to protect you from your own thoughts, because it is time for you to stand. We need you to stand in leadership, Aries, because here is the Maya, the card of schooling and education, and here is the hawk. The hawk is about rising above a situation and seeing it from a broader perspective. So what if throughout all of this disruption we're seeing happening in the world, all of this old structures that are serving an old dynamic and not a new dynamic are breaking away? There's a certain amount of fear that is elicited through all of this. And at the same time, Aries can see a wisdom. I really didn't like that anyway. Aries says, I didn't need to go into that office 40 hours a week to get my job done. So now this is where, to me, Aries gets to stand in the higher vibration of this dynamic. Aries gets to say, you know what? Chiron is going through my sign. And Chiron is the wounded healer. So what about my power, my strength, have I been pretending not to know? Is my power and strength strictly come through force? Or does it come from the deeper truth that the spiritual warrior knows and stands in service of? I used to watch this show as a kid called, with Keith Carradine, I think it was David Carradine, one of those brothers. And it was Kung Fu. And he was this Kung Fu master. And every new town he went into, the bullies came in and wanted to beat him up, thought he was this little, shrimp of a guy. And he had all this power underneath. And he never used that power unless he was pushed to the limit to use that power. This is what I think is happening with Aries right now. I think that as these Mars squares all these aspects. Yes, Kate, you're just so right on. We're lined up, you, me, and Kate. Because yes, grasshopper, patience, observation. We have a real opportunity here to be the way of the peaceful warrior. This is not a fear of using our sword. It's knowing when to use it and how to use it. And sometimes we just might want to use it to cut up our dinner instead of lob someone's head off. So I think that's what we have to offer this week. I would very much encourage my Mars-ruled people to take a breath before you take action, and not just over this new moon, but over the next few months as we see Mars traversing through Taurus and making more aspects to these key points. So that's it for this week. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, And I've started calling myself an intuitive astrologer, as I've been on Lotta's channel now for 2 years and studying with her for about 5. And I want to thank y'all for coming every week and for showing up and bringing your beautiful energy into this room. And I want to thank all the trolls who showed up today as well, because without you, we wouldn't know we were in the game. Because if you're not in the game, if you don't have any trolls giving you grief. And I want to thank Small Wildflowers and Juan for helping me every week to moderate and for the timestamps that will be coming. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, you can go to Lotta's website. I am under the readers menu. And I'll be back next week at 11 a.m. Pacific time with more messages from your angels by Astrological Rising Sign. So love everybody. Peace out.